So good afternoon everyone. We'll discuss about the MCQs pertaining to the metabolism of lipids. So let's start the session, and you can text me the answers in WhatsApp. Okay, so let's begin. In beta oxidation of fatty acid, the carnitine is required for. So first of all, I'll try to understand the question. In beta oxidation of fatty acid, carnitine is required for. Option A, conversion of short chain fatty acid to long chain fatty acid, transportation of long chain fatty acid to mitochondrial inner layer, transport of LFA to cytosol, or conversion of LCFA to SCFA. There is nothing related to conversions of short chain fatty acid into long chain, right? So A and D are ruled out. What about transportation of long chain fatty acid to mitochondrial inner membrane, or transportation of long chain fatty acid to the cytosol? So what is the option here? Somebody has answered me B. Yes, this is the correct answer, because we know that the pathway operates in the mitochondrial layer. Hence this carnitine is required. It is a transport protein basically, which is required for transportation of long chain fatty acid into the mitochondrial inner layer for the further oxidation to takes place. Okay, so please do remember this. Next question. Refsum's disease is due to deficiency of number 1, malate dehydrogenase, thioparase, succinate thiokinase, phytanic acid alpha oxidase. There is nothing to do with malate dehydrogenase. It is something related to the metabolism of carbohydrates, and especially in the TCA cycle. Thioparase, can anyone tell me what is the function of thioparase? Where do you come across this enzyme, thioparase? Yes, can anyone tell me? Liver can synthesize ketone bodies, but liver cannot utilize ketone bodies because it lacks an enzyme called thioparase. It is an enzyme which is playing an important role in ketolysis, right? Next, succinate thiokinase, again it is something to do with the TCA cycle. And the last option that is left is absolutely the phytanic acid alpha oxidase, which is related to the oxidation of phytanic acid, which is a branched chain fatty acid. So the option here will be D. Yes, Imansh, you are right. You are answering me about the ketone bodies. Very good. Next, in Zellweger syndrome, there is accumulation of long chain fatty acid. Option B, accumulation of short chain fatty acid, accumulation of very long chain fatty acid, accumulation of Fs, that is medium chain fatty acid. Yes, can anyone tell me the answer? Yes. I got an answer as C, right? So it is 3, right? It is very long chain fatty acid. There is a defect in the oxidation of very long chain fatty acid, due to which the accumulation of very long chain fatty acids, right? Next question. Beta oxidation in peroxisome is differentiated from that occurring in the mitochondria. Observe the question. Beta oxidation takes place in peroxisomes as well as in the mitochondria, but what is the main difference between the two, right? Number 1, acetyl-CoA, number 2, hydrogen peroxide, number 3, different enzymes are found in different sites, and NADH is required. Can anyone text me the answer for this question? How is it different from each other? Yes, got an answer B, right? Why B? God has given a beautiful enzyme called catalase in the peroxisomes to take care of this hydrogen peroxide, which is produced in the cell as a result of beta oxidation of the fatty acid. Very good. Next question. Ketone bodies utilized by the conversion of. So they are asking mainly about the ketolysis, how it is going to be utilized. Option 1, acetoacetate to acetoacetyl-CoA. Option B, series of changes lead to pyruvate. Option C, alpha ketoglutarate. Option D, succinyl-CoA. Can anyone tell me the answer for this question? Name ketone bodies first of all. They are acetone, acetoacetic acid, and beta hydroxybutyrate. These are the 3 ketone bodies. So I got an answer as B, no. Someone is saying A. So let us look what is the answer. It is absolutely A. Why? Because I already discussed in the previous slide something with respect to succinyl-CoA. Succinyl-CoA, even though it is an intermediate of TCA cycle, it does plays an important role in your ketone body metabolism as well. especially in the utilization of ketone bodies. Acetoacetate combines with succinyl-CoA to form acetoacetyl-CoA with the elimination of succinate. Right? This acetoacetyl-CoA in turn, with the addition of one more CoA molecule, it gets broken down into two molecules of acetyl-CoA. So that is how the ketone bodies are going to be utilized. So the key enzyme of ketone body utilization or ketolysis is your thioperoxidase. So please do remember this. We should not forget. How can you say it is B? What it has to do with pyruvate here, right? Next question. Ketosis is caused by option A, excessive utilization of glucose, overproduction of acetyl-CoA, ketolysis of pyruvate, high protein diet. So can anyone guess the answer? What is ketosis? How do you define ketosis? Yes, the combination of ketonemia, ketonuria with acidotic smell or the acidotic breath is known as ketosis, right? Because the patient have got ketonemia. What is ketonemia? Increased concentration of ketone bodies in the blood. We call it as ketonemia. The normal concentration of ketone bodies in the blood is less than 1 milligram per deciliter, right? What is ketonuria? The excretion or increased excretion of ketone bodies in the urine, we call it as ketonuria. The combination of these two, we call it as ketosis, right? What are the causes? Uncontrolled diabetes, starvation, hyperemesis gravidarium, right? So these are the causes of ketoacidosis or ketosis. So the option here is overproduction of acetyl-CoA. That's a right answer. Yes, some of you have answered me B, right. Why it is not excessive utilization of glucose? Glucose undergoes oxidation to form pyruvate. Pyruvate gets oxidized to acetyl-CoA, and acetyl-CoA enters the TCA cycle to get oxidized to carbon dioxide and water. So there is nothing called excessive utilization of glucose that can lead to ketosis. No. And option 3, that is C, ketolysis of pyruvate. No. High protein diet, what it has to do with the ketone bodies? High protein diet, obviously it will lead to amino acid pool. Some of the amino acids are glucogenic, at least 14 amino acids are glucogenic, right? So they will lead to the gluconeogenic pool, not ketogenic pool, right? So please remember, it is overproduction of acetyl-CoA, because it has nothing, because there is so much production of acetyl-CoA that the only pathway that could be channeled will be ketone bodies after your TCA cycle pathway, after your cholesterol synthesis pathway, after your fatty acid synthesis pathway, then jumps into the ketone body formation depending upon the energy status of the cell. Next, in a person fasting overnight, carnitine deficiency following chemicals increase quantity in the blood. So please read this question again. In a person fasting overnight with carnitine deficiency, so carnitine is mainly required for the oxidation of very long chain fatty acids and also long chain fatty acid. There is nothing to do with small and medium chain fatty acids. But suppose a person is having overnight fasting and he has a deficiency of carnitine. So what are the chemicals that's going to increase in the quantity in the blood? Option A, glucose, 2, fatty acid, 3, amino acid, and 4, it is ketone bodies. So you can text me the answer. It is fatty acid. It's a very direct question. Next question. First acetyl group donor in fatty acid synthesis. Yes, tell me who is the precursor of fatty acid synthesis. So try to remember the steps of your fatty acid synthesis. Again, fatty acid synthesis operates by the multi-enzyme complex called fatty acid synthase complex. So please do read about the fatty acid synthase complex. What are the enzymes playing an important role over here? And what is the answer here? It is acetyl-CoA. Next question. Acetyl-CoA carboxylase is activated by. They are asking about the acetyl-CoA carboxylase. So what is the speciality of this enzyme? Can anyone text me the answer? Acetyl-CoA carboxylase. What is the speciality of this pyruvate carboxylase, acetyl-CoA carboxylase? What is the speciality of this particular enzyme? Can anyone text me the answer apart from the MCQ answer? What is the other speciality of this particular enzyme? Yes, acetyl-CoA carboxylase. No, I am not asking about rate limiting. I'm asking some peculiar character about this carboxylases enzyme. So, can anyone know? Not CoA? No. Yes. Can anyone text me the answer? Yeah, no one got the answer. So you have not read about vitamins chapter properly. That's a basic reason you are not able to answer this question. It is a biotin dependent carboxylation reaction. Please remember, are carboxylases which are dependent on biotin. Okay, one is propenyl CoA carboxylase, acetyl CoA carboxylase and pyruvate carboxylase. Please do remember this. So this is very bad that I didn't expect that you are not going to answer this question. So it is activated by the citrate. Next, true about mitochondrial chain elongation of fatty acid. So now they are asking about the mitochondrial chain elongation step. Option A operates under anaerobic condition, operates aerobically. It's a common pathway, not a common pathway. Pyridoxal phosphate and NADPH is required. So please do remember about the fatty acid elongation. Of course, I did not take this particular topic, I guess, right? It was taught by one of our faculty. Try to remember the important steps of fatty acid synthesis. Now it is the question is targeted against the mitochondrial chain elongation. So the option A, it is operating under anaerobic and operates anaerobically. It's a common pathway, not a common pathway, and PLP NADPH is required. Any answer from you guys? So it operates under anaerobic conditions. It is not a common pathway. PLP and NADPH are also required for the elongation step. Okay, so these are there are three answers in this question. Okay, next. HMG-CoA production in liver is inhibited by. So they are asking about HMG-CoA. So what do you know about HMG-CoA? It is an intermediate in fatty acid synthesis. It is an intermediate in cholesterol biosynthesis. It is an intermediate in even ketone body formation. Right? Now, the question is HMG-CoA production in the liver. They are asking in the liver. It is inhibited by. So insulin, thyroxine, and glucagon, cortisol. So what is the answer? It is insulin by. Some of you have answered glucagon. Why glucagon? HMG-CoA production in the liver is inhibited by the insulin. It is not by the glucagon. It has got an exactly opposite action. The glucagon has got exactly opposite action to that of insulin with respect to HMG-CoA production. Next. Which of the following lipoprotein does not move towards the charged end in electrophoresis? So the option A, VLDL, option B. So one of you have answered me insulin and statin. That's very good answer. VLDL, LDL and HDL and chylomicrons. So they are asking about which of the following lipoprotein does not move towards the charged end in electrophoresis. Yes, the option is chylomicron. They have got a larger molecular weight. They will sit at the origin itself. They are unable to move to the opposite direction because of the heavy molecular weight. They are the larger particles. So try to please remember all these things. We have already taught all these topics in detail. Next question. The human plasma lipoprotein contain highest percentage of triacyl glycerol by weight. Option A, VLDL, option B, LDL, option C, HDL, option D, chylomicron. So all of you try to recollect about the various lipoproteins, what is their important content, right? So the chylomicrons, they are made up of exogenous triacyl glycerols, and the VLDL is mainly richly present in endogenous triacyl glycerols. Whatever the triacyl glycerols which we have taken in the form of oils or fats in the diet, they are carried to the liver or to the other organs by chylomicron. Thus we call it as exogenous lipid transporter, right? The endogenously synthesized triacylglycerol in the liver, it is carried to various tissues with the help of VLDL. Henceforth, it is related to endogenous triacylglycerol. Now LDL has got something to do with excessive cholesterol deposition. It's called as bad cholesterol. And HDL has got more of protein content rather than the cholesterol. Henceforth, we call it as a good cholesterol. So what is the option here? It is chylomicrons. Next. ApoB48 and ApoB100 are expressed as two different apoproteins because of the difference in option A RNA editing, option B RNA splicing, option C chromosomal loci, and option D ApoB gene. So I got an answer RNA editing. Excellent, good. So it is RNA editing. So look at the diagram to understand this. This is a ApoB gene, 5' end and 3' end, and this is in the liver and this is in the intestine. The same mRNA is responsible for ApoB48. In the liver it is completely expressed, hence we call it as ApoB100 because there is a 100% expression of this mRNA into the liver. But in the intestine what happens? There is only 48% expression of the protein, hence we call it as ApoB48. In the intestine, the RNA has undergone editing here. There is editing of the mRNA that was responsible for the production of ApoB48, and there is a deletion of 52% here, hence it remains as ApoB48. A very important question, most commonly asked PG question. Next, all the statements are true about Norham's disease except option A, it is common, it is autosomal recessive in inheritance, it is due to deficiency of LCAT, increased unesterified cholesterol, decreased TAG levels. So to answer this question, you should be knowing what is Norham's disease. So then only you will be able to answer this question. So the option here, try to understand what is Norham's disease first. First of all, it is rare. So the Norham's disease is due to congenital deficiency of LCAT. It is rare. Inheritances, most of the inheritances which are coming in your biochemistry chapters, especially metabolism chapters, most of them are inherited as autosomal recessive only because of the enzyme deficiencies. Remember this. So inheritance is autosomal recessive. What are the biochemical findings? There will be, the patient will have increased unesterified cholesterol in his circulation and increased triacylglycerol. Simultaneously, there is a decrease in the HDL cholesterol with discoid HDL accumulation. The patient will present with corneal opacities because of the increased triacylglycerols as well as unesterified cholesterols. The patient will have mild anemia as well as the proteinuria due to the renal failure. So you can now, and the patient is more prone for early atherosclerosis because of the presence of unesterified cholesterol. So you can now pick up the answer. What is the answer? Can you can you please tell me what is the answer for this question? It is common because this is the option which is wrong. Option A. It is not common, it is rare. Okay, all are true about yes. So this is the wrong answer. So because it is autosomal recessive, it is due to deficiency of LCAT. That is also right answer. There is increased unesterified cholesterols, and actually it is increased TAG levels. Okay, it's not decreased, it is increased TAG levels. Next question. All are true about fish eye disease except autosomal recessive inheritance, X-linked due to mutations in LCAT, and corneal opacity. So all the statements are true. So except they are asking. So first of all, you should know what is fish eye disease. Inheritance is autosomal recessive. It is due to mutations in the gene that is encoding for the LCAT. Clinical features are patient will have corneal opacities like fish eye appearance, and LDL is enriched with TAG and increased VLDL. Right? So you can answer me this question now. I got the answer as no, it's not. It's the answer. You have texted me as B and A. So now please look at the options here. So it is B, right? Because it is not X-linked. Rest all are correct answers. Right. Next, Ullmann's disease is characterized by all except option A, autosomal recessive inheritance, defect in intralysosomal acid lipase deficiency, hepatosplenomegaly steatoria, hepatosplenomegaly, abdominal distension and steatorrhea. So the option should be among C and D, because one of the option has got hepatosplenomegaly and steatorrhea, and here it has got abdominal distension, hepatosplenomegaly and steatorrhea. So it will be autosomal recessive, no doubt, and this is a defect. So let us look into what is Ullmann's disease first. It is autosomal recessive disorder. It is due to complete deficiency of intralysosomal acid lipase that is going to hydrolyze triacylglycerols and cholesterol esters. The clinical features are hepatosplenomegaly, abdominal distension and steatorrhea. So what will be the option, the answer? Can you text me the answer? So Nikita texted C. So you are right, it is C, because patient will have hepatosplenomegaly, abdominal distension as well as steatorrhea, right? Even if you do not know anything about Ullmann's disease, still you can answer this question. If someone is having hepatosplenomegaly, do you expect that patient will not have abdominal distension? Definitely he is going to have abdominal distension, right? So here itself you can definitely, even you do not know ABCD of Ullmann's disease, still you can pick up the answer. Next, all of the following statements regarding LDL receptors are true except option A, they are present only in the extrahepatic tissue. Option B, clathrin coated pits contain the receptors on the cell membrane. It is taken into the cell by endocytosis. Increased cellular cholesterol downregulates the synthesis of LDL receptor. So please can you answer me this question. Anyone? Try to remember about LDL metabolism, how this LDL is metabolized. LDL binds to the receptors that is located on the cell membrane. They are characterized by clathrin coated pits. Once the LDL particle recognizes this clathrin coated pits, it gets engulfed into the cell by a process called receptor mediated endocytosis. Once it enters into the cell with the help of various hydrolytic enzymes, the LDL cholesterol gets hydrolyzed, right? So now, so what's the answer? It is present only in the extrahepatic tissues. No, they are present in the hepatic tissues as well. So that is the wrong answer here. So rest all the statements are true about LDL receptors. Next question. A patient was diagnosed with isolated increase in the LDL. His father brother had the same disease with increased cholesterol. The likely diagnosis is option A, familial, it is not familiar, it is familial type 3 hyperlipoproteinemia. Option B, A beta lipoproteinemia. Option C, familial lipoprotein lipase deficiency or type 1. Option D, LDL receptor mutation. So try to understand the question first. Patient was diagnosed with the isolated increase in the LDL. When this patient was subjected for fasting lipid profile, which is going to give you the readings of total cholesterol, triglycerol, LDL, HDL and VLDL. It was found that the HDL and VLDL and total cholesterol being normal, but only there was increase in the LDL. His father and brother had same disease with increased cholesterol. So the father and his brother had a same problem. So what it could be due to? So that means the question is giving indirect clue that it is something running in the families. It is in a familial. Now what is the reason for increase in the LDL? So it is due to LDL receptor mutation. So the question is mainly focused on LDL, and there is an increase in the LDL cholesterol. It is mostly due to no, it is not option A. Sorry, that's not. Some of you have answered me option A. No, it is due to LDL receptor mutation only. Now to understand this question, you have to read lipo, that is hyperlipoproteinemias. Then only you will be able to understand. Go back and read the Fredrickson's classification. Then you will be able to pick up the answer. A young male patient presenting with LDL 600 mg per dl and TAG 140 mg per dl, what would be the most likely finding on physical examination? Ideally, the LDL concentration should be less than 100 mg per deciliter. and ideally the triacylglycerol in the fasting state, it should be somewhere 40 to 120 milligram per deciliter. There is a moderate increase in triacylglycerol, but there is a severe elevation in LDLs. So what would be the most likely physical examination, what would be the most likely finding? Here LDL means, that means there is an increase in the bad cholesterol. This cholesterol concentration is increased. So what could be the finding? It was mostly tendon xanthomas whenever they say elevated cholesterol levels. Now the table is back to us. Type 1 hyperlipoproteinemia, it is related something with chylomicrons. There is elevation of chylomicrons. The chylomicron main composition is increase the TAGL. So when you examine the plasma, so you will get to see the creamy layer over the clear plasma. Type 2A, there is increase in the LDL, and type 2B, there is increase in the LDL as well as VLDL, and the cholesterol levels are going to be shoot up in both the patients. And type 2A have got a normal TAG, and type 2B has got elevated TAG, and the type 2A has got a clear plasma because there is only increase in the cholesterol here. There is no disturbance in the triacylglycerol due to the plasma remains clear. Whenever you find a creamy layer or milky serum, it is always indicated, or it is always indicates that there is a shoot up of triacylglycerols in these patients. So here you can see type 2B, there is a VLDL fraction is also increased, which reflects that there is an increase in the triacylglycerol, hence the serum appears slightly cloudy. And type 3 is a broad beta VLDL and chylomicrons, hence there is an increase in both TAG as well as cholesterol, the plasma appears cloudy. Type 4, there is a shoot up of VLDL, and to certain extent there is an increase in the moderate elevation of cholesterol as well. So it can be cloudy or it can be milky serum. Type 5 VLDL and chylomicrons are going to be elevated. The cholesterol is going to be normal, and TGs are going to be very much elevated because endogenous and exogenous, both the fractions are elevated here. So you will find a creamy layer over milky plasma. So remember the difference between the type 1 and type 5. In type 1, there is an increase in the chylomicrons only. Henceforth, you will find a creamy layer over the clear plasma. But here the VLDLs are also increased. Henceforth, you are going to get a creamy layer over the milky plasma. Very important difference between type 1 and type 5. Now, the next question. All of the following are causes of secondary hyperlipoproteinemia except. Already we have discussed in detail when we were talking about the lipid metabolism and the clinical aspects of lipid metabolism in our theory classes. Try to recollect the answers again. All of the following are the causes of secondary hyperlipoproteinemia except hypothyroidism, diabetes, alcohol abuse and hyperthyroidism. The options you can easily pick up. Diabetes may be the answer, and alcohol abuse can also cause secondary hyper. Now the hypo or hyper, between these two you have to differentiate now, right? So what will be the answer? Getting some answers from the students. It is D, right? It is D. Now let us look into the patterns of hyperlipoproteinemia in secondary hyperlipoproteinemia. That is, nephrotic syndrome will have increased cholesterol, hypothyroidism patient will have increased cholesterol, and chronic liver failure, alcohol abuse, diabetes mellitus, the patients on oral contraceptive pills are going to have a shoot up in the TAG levels. Okay, so please do remember about the secondary hyperlipoproteinemia. So the option here is hyperthyroidism. Very good. Next question. This is to make you again remember about lipid profile. Total cholesterol desirable range is less than 200. We call it as borderline high when it falls between 200 to 239, and we consider it as high when it is greater than 240. LDL optimal range will be less than 100 mg per dl, and above optimal we call it when it is 100 to 129 mg per dl. Borderline high when it is 130 to 159, and high 160 to 189. Very high when it is greater than 190. And what about HDL? Low when it is less than 100. High when it is, actually more the HDL levels, it is more beneficial for us. So generally we say it is high if it is greater than 60 mg per dl. Triglycerides 30 to 200. Actually it is up to 120 in the fasting state. Okay. The ratios are total cholesterol to HDL. The goal is to achieve less than 5:1. Ideal will be less than 3.5:1. HDL to LDL ratio should be, goal is to achieve greater than 0.33. Ideal will be greater than 0.4. LDL to HDL, the goal is to achieve less than 3.5:1. Ideal will be less than 2.5:1. Now, the most important carrier of cholesterol in the plasma. So, they are asking about the cholesterol carrier, VLDL, LDL, HDL and chylomicron. VLDL and chylomicron are going to carry your triacylglycerols, the triglycerides. LDL and HDL are going to carry cholesterol, but LDL carries more cholesterol compared to HDL. HDL has got more, it is more important in transport of protein component, right? So that is the reason the best answer here is cholesterol. Next. All of the following statements are true about apolipoproteins except. So please do answer this question. Option A, apoprotein A1 activates ALCAT, apoprotein C1 activates lipoprotein lipase, apoprotein C2 inhibits lipoprotein lipase, and apoprotein C2 activates lipoprotein lipase. So among these two you have to pick up. Both are having opposite answers. Option C says it inhibits lipoprotein lipase. Option D says it's going to activate lipoprotein lipase. So the option here it is apoprotein C2 inhibits apoprotein, that is lipoprotein lipase. No, it's going to activate LPL, right? So do remember this kind of confusing questions. Next question, which helps in the transportation of chylomicrons from the intestine to the liver? ApoB, ApoA, ApoA, apoprotein C, ApoE. So the option here is ApoB. Okay, from intestine to liver. They are asking about transportation of chylomicron from the intestine to liver. Already we have seen the other question, mRNA editing, ApoB48. It was located in the intestine. So if you remember that, it's easy to answer this question. That is ApoB. But they have not mentioned it is 48 as 100, but it is overall it is ApoB. It is not A, C and E. Okay. Now, which of the following is an activator of LCAT? ApoB100, ApoB48, ApoE and ApoA1. So the easiest question, it is ApoA1. Nothing to do with ApoB100 and B48. And ApoE is not related to the activation of LCAT. It is something to do with the metabolisms of LDL and HDL during the last step of their metabolism, right? Next, the best marker of dyslipidemia. So they are asking which is the best marker to say that the patient is having dyslipidemia. TG and cholesterol and LDL to HDL ratio and cholesterol, ApoA1. You are answering me as D for this particular question. What's the answer? Dyslipidemia. Last time you remember when I was talking about the biochemical analytes with respect to lipid metabolism, we were discussing about atherogenic indexes. Nowadays the treatment is not based individually on the total cholesterol or triacylglycerol or LDL. It's always the ratios which will indicate that the patient is having dyslipidemia. So it is always the bad cholesterol to good cholesterol ratios which are having a therapeutic indication. If it is high, then definitely the patient is having dyslipidemia, for which the therapy has to be implemented. So that's about the best marker of dyslipid. It's not about the individual marker. It's always the ratios which going to indicate the dyslipidemia status of an individual. Next, all of these statements are true about LDL except it delivers cholesterol to cell. It contains only one apolipoprotein. It is a marker for cardiovascular disease. It contains ApoB4. So what is the option here? What's the answer? Of course, it delivers cholesterol to cell. It contains one apolipoprotein, that is ApoB100. It is a marker of cardiovascular disease, right? It does not contain ApoB4. It contains ApoB100. Next, which receptor are present in the liver for uptake of LDL? Yes, you can answer me this question. ApoA, ApoA and ApoE, ApoE, ApoB100, ApoB100. Definitely it is ApoB100 and ApoE. Okay, because LDL metabolism is related to ApoB100 and ApoE plays an important role in the liver for the uptake of LDL cholesterols. In familial hypercholesterolemia, there is a deficiency of option A, LDL receptor, option B, apoprotein A, apoprotein C, lipoprotein lipase. It is familial hypercholesterolemia. It is due to LDL receptor mutation, that we have already discussed that question, right? Next, so lipid storage disorders called sphingolipidosis. Most of you have not read this topic at all. Please concentrate on this particular disease. At least if it is asked for the 5-mark question, at least 5 diseases you should be able to remember, and what is the enzyme defect in that particular disease you should be able to remember. Sphingolipidosis is nothing but lipid storage disorders. There is something called Tay-Sachs disease. It is due to deficiency of hexamidinase A. The patient will have mental retardation, blindness and muscular weakness. Second, Fabry's disease. It is due to deficiency of alpha galactosidase. There is an accumulation of globotriacyl ceramide. The patient will present with skin rash, kidney failure, full symptoms only in males, and it is since it is a X-linked recessive disease. The third disease is metachromatic leukodystrophy. It is due to deficiency of aryl sulfatase A. There is an accumulation of 3-sulfogalactosyl ceramide. The patient will have mental retardation, psychological disturbances in adults, and the patient will end up with demyelination also. So please do remember M for metachromatic leukodystrophy, M for mental retardation, M for demyelination, and it is due to deficiency of an enzyme called aryl sulfate. It's a very commonly asked NEET PG questions. Krebs disease, it is due to deficiency of beta galactosidase. That's the accumulation of galactosyl ceramide, and the patient is, so most of these patients are having mental retardation because of the deposition of these lipids in the brain. The normal architecture of the brain is lost, because of which the patient will have mental retardation. The myelin sheath is almost absent in a patient with Krebs disease. Now there is something called Gaucher's disease. It is due to deficiency of an enzyme called beta glucosidase. It is due to, and there is accumulation of glucosyl ceramide. See, just remember the enzyme. Galactosidase is absent, galactosyl ceramide gets accumulated. Glucosidase is a G for Gaucher's disease, G for glucosidase, G for glucosyl ceramide accumulation, due to which there is enlargement of liver, that's called splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, erosion of the long bones. Patient will have mental retardation, especially, which is a very clinical finding that you get in infants. So that's about the Gaucher's disease. Next is Niemann-Pick disease, most commonly asked question again, NP, that is Niemann-Pick disease. It is due to deficiency of sphingomyelinase. If there is a deficiency of sphingomyelinase, there is accumulation of sphingomyelin. Hence, there is an enlargement of the liver, spleen, patient will have mental retardation, and it's going to be very fatal in the early life. So please remember about this particular lipid storage disorder. Farber's disease, it is due to deficiency of ceramidase. There is accumulation of sphingosine ceramide. Patient will have different clinical features here, like hoarseness of the voice. Patient will have dermatitis, skeletal deformation apart from your mental retardation, and it's going to be fatal in the early life. So please, when it is asked for the 5 marks, at least 5 disorders you should be able to recollect and write. So please try to remember again. Tay-Sachs disease, due to hexosaminidase A deficiency. There is accumulation of gangliocytes here. You need not write the structure here, you can just mention it is something to do with the gangliocyte, and the patient will have, so most of the sphingolipidosis, you can close your eyes and write mental retardation, and you can write accumulation of this will cause hepatosplenomegaly. But be very clear about hepatosplenomegaly. The later parts of the lipid storage disorders, there is an enlargement of liver and the spleen. The early disorders, it is mostly presenting with the mental retardation, psychological disturbances. So you should be able to differentiate this. And Fabry's disease, due to galactosidase deficiency, there is accumulation of globotriacyl ceramides. You can either, if you are unable to remember the full name, at least try to remember ceramides. There is a ceramide accumulation. So there is a skin rash, kidney failure, and metachromatic leukodystrophy. You should, this is a very important question again. aryl sulfatase deficiency due to sulfogalactosylceramide, and patient will have mental retardation, psychological disturbances in the adults, and demyelination. And Krebs disease, galactosidase, so galactosylceramide, mental retardation, myelin is almost lost. Gaucher's is due to glucosidase and glucosylceramide, enlargement of liver, spleen, erosion of the long bones, mental retardation, all that. Then NS, that is NP syndrome, that is sphingomyelinase deficiency, having accumulation of choline, sphingomyelin, the patient will have enlargement of liver, spleen and mental retardation. And Forbes disease due to deficiency of ceramidase and this accumulation of ceramide and sphingosine, patient will have different clinical features like hoarseness in the dermatitis and skeletal deformation. So this is about the lipid storage disorders. Now the question is, sphingomyelinase deficiency is seen in. Now you will be able to pick up the answer. Number 1 Niemann-Pick, number 2 Farber, C Tay-Sachs, and yes, Himanshu has answered me. It is A, right answer. Niemann-Pick disease. Good. Next. Gaucher's disease is, there is a deficiency of, even Nikita has answered, then many of you have answered. Gaucher's disease, there is a deficiency of glucocerebroside, glucokinase, sphingomyelinase disease. Pretty very good. It is option A, glucocerebrosidase, right. Next. So these are the important MCQs pertaining to the, with respect to lipid metabolism. So next class we will discuss about protein metabolism MCQs, which are very important. Okay then, thank you. We'll continue in the next class with protein MCQs. Okay, read and come. Amino acid metabolism and protein chemistry. Okay, fine then, thank you.